And we are live here back with good old Real News Quarantine here. It is weird that how we've shifted and shaped through past few months, but it's as we approach the election, we're less than 100 days out, 95 days, I believe, at this point. It's becoming more apparent that things are all about the pandemic. It's really coming back into fruition, and the anarchy we see in the streets is kind of dying down. Portland, ever since those unmarked ice came in and cleaned up the streets, it's been a lot better. But we have some breaking news though about TikTok that broke last night. Again, this is all back to the pandemic in China. Supposedly Trump was saying the other day he was going to ban TikTok, but then TikTok is now saying they're here for the long run. Microsoft was even looking to buy them. So it's wild. I'd been saying for a while that the government's probably going to ban TikTok, or they're going to force the app stores to just remove them. I'm still thinking it's going to happen at some point, but I think they're kind of priming the public for something to come. What do you guys think about this?
I think if Microsoft buys them, they're going to be fine. Like, honestly, I think this is more of an attack on China because, TikTok was a very shady app to begin with, but I also think that there's a certain aspect of it where it's competing with United States based social media companies. And I think that's definitely part of the reason why this is going on and why like a lot of people aren't as pissed off about this as it would be if like they tried to ban Facebook. But yeah, no, like there's a lot of people who want this app to be banned, and it's not all for most of it's not even for national security reasons.
I would be. I think there's a good chance Microsoft buys it, but does that help? Okay, I mean, there's a lot of angles we can look at this, but how does that help or hurt Microsoft?
It would allow them to get into the social media field, which honestly they kind of missed that train while it lasted, and it would help TikTok, stay in the United States. So it'd kind of be a win-win. It'd be a pretty good move for Microsoft, in all honesty, because it would allow them to go into a space that they kind of dropped the ball on.
Is that why TikTok is having a ad on everything now? Talk about they have business. You can use it for business now for business ads.
Mm.
Yeah, I saw it on
Did y'all see that?
Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, I saw on both of those actually.
I don't have Facebook, so I won't see it on there. But yeah, I'm at YouTube. But like, yeah, I think they're basically making it so that people will be pissed if it's gone now, and that's sort of what they're trying to go and do with the Chinese party and with the people who invest in that app. They want to make it so that if you force us out of the United States, there's going to be people who are pissed and they're going to vote. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, I think too. It would definitely help Microsoft get into this market, but I think the TikTok brand is getting a bit tarnished. Not among Zoomers necessarily. They still kind of, for the most part, are using it and loving it. But I think just the general public of adults, again, who don't really use TikTok, are seeing it for what it is, which is Chinese spyware. And I think Microsoft could, in some ways, hurt their brand by buying it because it shows that they're they're buddies with China, which they kind of all are. So it's like, does it even matter at that point? But it's just another brick in the wall here, and that's what I think these companies gotta be careful when they're dabbling more and more into China because it's different now. Like you're seeing companies pull factories out. You're seeing companies.
I think they needed they were there. I think the focus on one company isn't going to cut the mustard. Like you're just going to focus on like TikTok. That's not really so much going to cut the mustard.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to do it, like I would do it like I would do something that would basically ban any Chinese spyware thing from the internet, and then since TikTok is Chinese spyware, then that falls under the banned, you know, under a banned policy or something like that. But like going after a specific company, that might not I don't know if that's gonna fly.
Hmm.
Well, here's the thing. Who do you think's really lobbying hard for TikTok to be banned?
Hmm. Um. Is anyone lobbying?
Oh no, I have a very good feeling that Facebook,
Oh, that's
YouTube,
true. Good point.
Instagram, because
Mhm.
guess what? It's less competition for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
I
a good
think
point.
that so that's how you're getting this sort of people on the left and the right both kind of want to get rid of it because the people on the right, they hate those other companies, and then Facebook and people and like the corporate interests on the left, they're like, oh well, see, we can get rid of this competition that we're pretty much
Yeah.
creaming us in terms of like Zoomers and stuff.
If that
Like
was the case, then why would Facebook let them advertise on there?
it's free money.
I think, well, yeah, that too. And you don't want to be, you don't want to go public and say, oh, ban TikTok, because you don't want to piss off the Chinese.
Well,
Yeah.
not just that, they'd piss off the antitrust people who are currently investigating all those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Which didn't they just have that like this week or last week or something with the antitrust lawsuits with like or not lawsuits but the congressional hearing, like Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, a bunch of other ones. I think that was pretty recently.
Well, then here's another angle too to consider because this is what I started thinking of, and this one article talks about. It says Trump's threatened TikTok ban could motivate young users to vote. Some say. Does this hurt him electorally if he bans TikTok?
I honestly don't think it's going to go anywhere because Microsoft's going to buy it up or some other company in the US is going to buy it up.
I tend to think that's going to happen now, ever since I saw the Microsoft thing floating around. But let's play a what if scenario. Trump bans TikTok, or the apps, or he forces the app stores to pull it. Do Zoomers say, "Fuck Trump, I'm voting for Biden because I want TikTok back"?
I mean, the people that would say that probably weren't going to vote for Trump anyways.
Yeah.
But were they going to vote anyways? Were they
Well,
going to
there
vote for
was
Biden anyways?
there is a black Trump supporter. I don't really remember how to pronounce his name. I think it's like Topper Music. He was like so against it, and he has like a whole bunch of followers, I guess, on TikTok. That might be one reason why. But he was like super against it. And I saw where what's this guy's name? He used to have a TV show. I don't see him anymore. I think his name is John Miller. He was saying, well, I mean, everything else going on, like why TikTok? So there's some conservatives who are kind of like, well, why not everything? Like, what? Why are we doing TikTok? So that's what
Yeah.
I've seen.
That's the only thing I would be like, because it's the only thing it would be going after a particular company per se, and not like pass anything that would be like, no Chinese spyware allowed on like American platforms such as like, Apple or Google or whatever. And then yeah, you're just going after one company that could stir up the pot, piss off a lot of people. But I mean, most of them are fucking libs or libertarians or can't vote anyway, so fuck them. Sorry.
I agree. I think that TikTok's definitely a terrible app, but I don't know if the way that Trump's going about banning it's the best way to do it. I really don't see the purpose of him, passing executive order to go and have that done. That should be something done by Congress. Maybe have the NSA or something look into it.
So then the pushback on that would be, well, Congress ain't getting shit done.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I gotta do all this shit on my
I
own.
I agree with Trump on doing this because it is Chinese spyware, but I feel like he needs to emphasize that more when he's saying it because I don't think everyone knows it because there's conservatives on TikTok. So I don't feel like everyone knows what it is.
Well, my question is, how would he get that banned though? Like, what would he do to actually ban it? Would it just be the app? Would it be the website as well? How do you actually implement that? It's kind of my question. Because I think what even better would be to like have a closed conversation with Apple and Google Play and just say, hey, can we remove this app? It has major security concerns, and that probably would have been the best way to do it.
I think that's what they would ultimately do. I think for the website, I mean, can't the government just block websites from coming into America?
I mean, that would be tough to do. Like, there's phishing websites. They have all sorts of other websites that they have tons of all the time. Like, I don't think that would be very easy, and that would be a really bad precedent. And I don't think most people have problems with the website itself. They have problems with the app because I don't think the website really does anything particularly nefarious. It's the app it's on your phone that's the problem. And because I haven't heard him saying to ban the whole website. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's always pretty much just been the app from what I've heard.
I think that's the implication, is the app. They're implying that. But it will be interesting to see what happens to Byte like that. I remember when there was talks a few weeks ago, or it was like 3-4 weeks ago, about TikTok being banned. It was after some Pompeo said Byte went #1 in the App Store. When do you see apps, like new apps, just jump on the App Store like that? It just doesn't happen anymore. That Tech Leads guy that I know you've been watching too, Alex, was talking about how really, like, he was saying apps are dead, and his part of his argument was that with the App Store now, or actually 20 clocks back, it's like the OG days of the App Store. You'd get a hot new trendy app like #1 every like week. There'd be like a new #1 app, or there'd be like, it was always like a changing list. Now it's the same shit. Facebook, YouTube, Netflix, TikTok, Twitter. Like the top 50 apps, especially the top 10 or top 25, are all the same, and they rarely even move on that list. So to see Byte like shoot up like that's impressive. Now it went back down, of course, but it might go back up.
Let's be real here. Like back then, like apps were just shitty in general.
They were
like you had your like fake beer drinking app and like all those other really stupid like the Bic lighter app or whatever, where it made you look like you had a lighter.
Yep, I remember that one.
Like it was just stupid like gag sort of things, and eventually as it progressed, you start to see clear like, hey, this people tend to go and stick to certain apps that they like. It's just as it progresses, and like social media, like because of the nature, there's gonna be a lot of people who want to go and play that. Like you never really see too many games on there because for the most part, most phone games are pretty shit because they're all microtransaction fueled. Like social media and like videos and stuff, that's what a lot of people across demographics use their phones for. It's got a lot of cross demographic appeal. Like Facebook's used by a lot of like older people, like Gen X, millennials, stuff like that. Whereas TikTok was kind of younger. That's kind of what you saw. Like the older something gets, the more stagnant it becomes.
Yeah, so we'll keep monitoring this because it's definitely going to be something that we're going to be talking about for a while. I mean, TikTok is insanely popular, which is why this is such a big deal, because China literally has cameras and microphones monitoring millions of Americans and of their own citizens all right now thanks to this app. Another big thing, I'm going to pull up the tweet from Cernovich on this because he had a fantastic thread. This is probably my favorite story of the week, which is Patreon lost a massive lawsuit that they filed against Owen Benjamin's fans. Now that's the key part here. Patreon filed this lawsuit and they lost because Patreon banned Owen Benjamin. And I wish we had Sam on because I know he loves Owen Benjamin. And when Owen got banned, they went. What were they going after his fans for again? I'm already forgetting.
I don't even remember what the lawsuit was. Like I know the implications of it, and I know they lost, but I don't remember what the original lawsuit was about.
Well, the implication was that basically you could get money off of this, like a shit ton of money. I'm gonna try and find the article because it was an interesting like. Okay, that's not Patreon. That's DeviantArt. What the frick? Don't
Make sure.
type in Patreon on Twitter.
Yeah, I'd be careful when you're looking stuff up on a live stream. You don't know what you're gonna find.
I didn't expect Patreon would have some of the things I just saw. This isn't a premium Snapchat after all. Patreon loses lawsuits and gets fans of
Oh
Owen
God.
Benjamin and will
Yeah,
be.
you might want to get off of there before we end up getting taken off.
I got it. We're fine now.
Like open another tab or something. Like holy shit.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was. That's. It went by quickly, so I can like edit out later. But Patreon loses lawsuits. Fans of Owen Benjamin will be forced to pay thousands, potentially millions of dollars in legal and arbitration fees or arbitration fees.
Arbitration.
Arbitration is a new word to me.
Mhm.
But it's because Patreon changed the rules in the middle of their banning, I think. That is how they got them. It's really interesting. But now, as Cernovich was pointing out, theoretically, Sargon of Akkad's fans could sue Patreon and get money. A bunch of people could just start suing Patreon and get money from them. Could this be the end of Patreon?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that might happen, depending on how much these people want to go and screw around, and they can go and like basically keep racking up the legal fees. Even if they lose each case, from what I understand, according to the lawsuit, Patreon still has to go and pay for their legal fees. So they have to go and pay for their own legal fees, the legal fees of the people suing them, and then any sort of fines that the court awards them. So you're talking, and if you have hundreds of people, depending on what you want to do, you could like delay these cases, all sorts of other things, do like weird legal maneuvers, and just make it drag out. And even if you lose, they're still on the hook for your lawyer fees.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, especially you get like hundreds of fans, like lawyers ain't cheap. And I don't really know how much money Patreon has,
I think
but
they don't have that much money.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like they're not like a super, like if this was Google or something, it'd be different because they have just like gobbles of money. But like Patreon, they probably have, I don't know, like less than $100 million. I'd assume that, and there's probably a lot of operating expenses and whatnot they have to go and deal with as well. So like, this could potentially be the end of them. I think that's a realistic possibility.
It says on this National File article, under California law, Patreon would have to pay the arbitration fees of upfront, as each user would have to be dealt. That's the crazy thing. Each user would have to be dealt with a one-on-one basis. Those fees range from a few $1,000s to over tens of thousands per case. It's unclear how many users intended to sue the platform. However, Patreon then changed its terms of service in an attempt to stop this from happening after the claims were filed. That's where they screwed up. That's where they got hit.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon then sued Benjamin's backers, Owen Benjamin, for attempting to receive arbitration and filed for a preliminary injunction to stop this from happening. However, this month the judge in the case ruled against them, knowing that their changes of the terms of service was tantamount to them changing the rules in the middle of the game. That's pretty much what it is. So, holy shit. This is what my takeaway from this, Roy, is that this is what we need to keep doing to the big, like, oppressors, I guess you could say. Big media, big tech, any of these people, they are hard to take down. Boycotts, even if they work, sometimes aren't enough. You need to do what they did to Alex Jones, what they did to Roger Stone, what they did to Michael Flynn. Bankrupt them, sue them, go after their money through lawsuits so you can drag them through court, bankrupt them, and that's how you can actually like either get them to change their act or get them off the game.
Well, you're not going to
That's
be
hard
able
to do.
Yeah, I mean, you could be able to. You might be able to get away with something like that with Patreon, but you're not going to. Not so much with like the big guns like Facebook and Twitter and Google and what like because those are the ones that have like high-powered legal teams, and
Yeah.
they got, and they could fuck with you as much as they want to. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if like. I mean, I always thought that it would be nice to have like. I know I kind of agree with. I know Trent Lipitsky was on here a while back. I we need some sort of like internet bill of rights of some kind, just because like just to like um reinforce what we have, because I mean, yeah, you you I mean, you already have a constitution that gives us all your rights or whatever, but like uh you also have a tech industry that knows how to like essentially circumvent the constitution. uh so you're going like something's going to need to be put in place to kind of make up for that. um I just because yeah, I mean, this isn't good. Like, if nothing gets done, this isn't going to get any better. Like, it's not going to get any better. And because we're already shouting about how it's gotten so bad now that like on Twitter, Donald Trump Jr. one of like
Yeah.
his stuff's starting to get like his stuff's starting to get flack. Even Donald Trump, right?
Yeah,
Even he's
his
starting to
tweets
get.
deleted. Twitter deleted
Yeah,
some of his tweets
yeah.
and put Junior
It's
in suspension for 12 hours.
If you think it's going to get any better, you're high as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much what you're dealing. Like something. I mean, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, it's not going to get better until we start having like some legal victories. And I think this is a good first step. I don't think this is going to be the end all be all, but I think
Yeah.
it will help out in this
I
particular
don't.
case. I don't think it's going to translate to other
No.
cases in the future though, because I think it was Patreon had like some idiotic terms of service like clause that they probably forgot about for years. And it's like, oh shit.
Well, they probably copied. They probably copied and pasted it off another fucking tech company or whatever. And they're like, oh, this looks legit.
You probably paid like LegalZoom fucking lawyer like
Yeah.
$20 to make it or something. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have that in there.
Like, but I don't know. I feel like Congress would never pass something like that because they want the ability to try to use. Look, they don't want anything that guarantees anything like political discrimination or anything like that. Like they want to be able to exert their power onto other people. That's politics in general. Like you can't have that when people have rights. You know, so I mean, you're gonna have to go through other avenues. I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
it's I don't know. I think Patreon is a smaller fish here, but if you hit Facebook, let's say, with enough lawsuits, and this could take a long time. I mean, I don't know, but if you like hit them, like if they have, because we've seen some of their massive problems they've had, and like with even Twitter too, with their Twitter hack recently, and they found the 17-year-old kid that did it. Maybe it takes just one big thing or a series of big things where you get enough, not just like conservatives or people or like fans of some figure going after them, but for some like legit big time people that have a army of lawyers like all going after Twitter for something. I think that's what could be, if there is a day that Twitter dies, that could be what takes them out. Because Alex and I were talking about this one time too, is like, well, how many of these are really going to stick around? Like, how many of these are going to last in 5-10 years? Like, TikTok isn't going to last. Snapchat isn't going to really last. I think we agreed. But even Facebook, I don't know. I mean,
Well, Honestly, I don't know how long TikTok will or won't last. I mean, that right now it's sort of the make or break. Either it lasts now for gets bought up or something for the U.S. version, then it'll probably be overturned as soon as Trump's out of office because it's an executive order and you don't need to go and do anything to really revoke those. And then they'll end up probably buying that part back or whatever. But I don't think they're going away.
I don't know about Snapchat because they've made new products now, like a brand new on your desktop. Like they have a snap camera and they have where you can make your own snaps yourself, like develop them.
Oh,
And
really?
that's like new. Yeah, so they're involving.
Well, and that's the other angle too. Is like think of like Facebook too. Maybe Facebook will stick around. Let's say, I mean, Facebook right now is too big to go anywhere, but Facebook, the service as we know it, might not be here in 10 years, but Facebook might be more into VR or AR or something. I don't know because you see them diving into like the home assistants with AI and making VR goggles. I mean, they bought Oculus, so maybe that's what happens to some of these tech companies is that they may not be social media anymore. I mean, you see them like diversifying, exploring new things, but maybe they completely move on from social media because of liabilities. I don't know.
Yeah, like honestly, I think that there is probably going to be some sort of junk with Facebook. I don't see them lasting too much longer as they are right now. I think they'll probably have something, just it won't be the same. Like it probably won't be the same thing with all the news feeds. It'll probably be more like, hey, this is like an address book of people that I know, and you can say hi and plan meetings and shit. They'll probably have that function, and then they'll probably have their other stuff in like a separate app. So, you know, I feel that
They already
right
do
now.
have Messenger.
Yeah, like I feel that there's too much liability right now with Facebook. Like they're getting too much heat, and like advertisers. I don't think that's honestly as bad as people are making it out to be. Because right now there's less advertising due to COVID, and they're using it as an excuse to lower their prices or get out of contracts or whatever. But and virtue signal at the same time. Like I just don't know though. It's gonna be a long ways out.
Two things. Number one is Cernovich cites a thing too in this thread where DoorDash was ordered to pay almost $10 million to arbitrate 5,000 labor disputes. And that's what the judge cited was a, quote, gig economy lawsuit that DoorDash lost in response to Patreon's lawyer's argument. So, very similar case there. Sean Chavez in the chat says, I get blocked daily on Twitch. I stopped following Cernovich a long time ago. Well, you, sir, are missing out if you haven't been following Cernovich for a long time. But if you're getting blocked daily on Twitch, well, if I don't know how you get blocked daily, does that mean you're getting reinstated or you're using a new account?
I'd stay away from Twitch. They seem like the most social justice out of all the streaming platforms.
Fucking Bezos.
Yeah.
Fucking Bezos.
Even Bitmoji and Canva have like Black Lives Matter stuff and social justice stuff on their stuff. Like
Oh,
Bitmoji,
God.
like seriously, in Canva, like I'm paying for that service so I can make some of the things I make, and I'm tired of seeing that crap.
Yeah. See, that's what pisses me off too. Is like if you don't support these movements, there's very few options for you to go to in terms of like companies and services.
Yep.
Like I think I saw an ad on the radio the other day for like Patriot Mobile, which is like a right wing cell phone service company, and I wish that we had more sort of options like that because they said, hey, unlike the other cell phone companies, we support conservative causes and we don't donate to stuff like Planned Parenthood and Act Blue and all that stuff like the other companies do.
Hashtag Bill Clayton is a pedo is trending on Twitter.
What?
Yes.
He's a pedo?
Yes, he is.
What is this? What is this new information that you speak of?
Well, I bet to the Twitter audience, this is number 12 on 20. This is probably like, oh my god,
Wow. I mean,
never heard that
that's
claim.
incredible. I mean, I've never heard that before.
I mean, I didn't even know he flew on Epstein's plane 26 times till now.
Hey, I use that hashtag too.
Nice. Game the hashtags. No harm, no shame in that.
I mean, look. I mean, I understand it. I understood that Bill Clinton wanted to cheat on Hillary. Okay, I totally get
feel
that.
for him.
Yeah, looking at that. Wow, I'm like, shit. I'd be running toward the first thing I saw too. But geez, like young underage girls. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not to talk my one uncle gangs. He was like born in Arkansas, and like he's had some interesting like encounters with that guy. Like heard like all sorts of shit with like Bill Clinton around town. Like, oh yeah, you'd see him all the time with like random like younger, like not young girls, but like young ladies in the fucking car, stuff like that. Just like all the fucking time, like a bunch of other corruption stuff. So he was around that same area. Like there is a lot of dirt, and I don't think there's enough days in a year to go through all of this shit in Bill Clinton's like fucking record. But I'm sure there's a lot. But honestly, though, it's like, he's a fucking disgusting piece of shit person. But we need to start working on like,
Oh,
Biden. Like what shit's in him?
Bill Clinton's not that bad of a guy. He's, hey, maybe, I mean, you gotta look at it from Bill Clinton's angle. He's
Phil,
like,
cut it out.
Pe-
Phil. Phil.
people of America.
Did you
If
see
they're
the video
not,
I posted?
if they're,
He said, "You're a rapist," and he's like, "Oh yeah, well I."
No, he's not. He said therapist, okay, not the rapist.
No,
okay?
he said rapist.
It's
Loud and clear.
therapist, okay. No, he's
Oh my
like,
God.
hey, people of America, if they're not old enough to vote, they're the right age. Thank you, America.
Speaking of therapists, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in like a fucking Clinton family therapy session. Just the shit you would hear.
You're
Like,
assuming they go to therapy.
They probably
Many...
probably like 20 pages of like NDAs you have to sign to just get onto that.
I wonder how many therapists have been executed by the Clintons.
We may never know, and we won't discuss it on this show because we want to have a show next week.
He knows way too much.
Yeah. Well, it was like funny when I was talking to some volunteers at work. We were like looking on a map for like door knocking, and there was literally like a Clinton Avenue. And I'm like, yeah, we don't need to go down there. We might not come back. We don't know what we're gonna know or find or see. We'll skip it. It's fine, guys. That is not friendly territory.
If you look into like the Clinton family, though, like there's a lot of just shady shit. Not even just with Bill Clinton. Like apparently, I think his family was from like bootleggers and like all these other like political disgusting shit going on. Same thing with the Kennedys. It's another one of those fucking dynasties.
Mm-hmm.
Like some interesting stuff.
And I know how they become dynasties or why they, the system sort of rewards or generates these sort of people. I'm also seeing on Twitter a thing about the far right trending, and I think it's related to those protests that we were just talking about in Berlin. But there's a New York Times article that's like trending. It says the threat of neo-Nazi infiltration of Germany's state institutions is more extensive than officials realize. Now they're struggling to uproot it. Oh God, here we go. Now, I understand that Europe still has a lot of wacky parties, like legit Nazi parties. Like, I get that. But they're acting like, out of the blue, these Nazis are, like, taking over their government.
No, like here's the thing with Germany, too. Like, if you even, like, own a swastika or have, like, a swastika flag in your house, you can get, like, sent to fucking prison.
Yeah,
if
you can't even deny the Holocaust.
If not even just denying the Holocaust, if you have a discrepancy with the numbers, like, oh, the standard consensus is, like whatever it is now, like 6 million, 7 million, whatever. If you say, oh, well, I think there's only 45 million or like 4.5 million, then you could get like shit for that. Like there was some lady who got sent to prison time for that. Say what you will about all that stuff, but I don't think you should be sent to prison for having a difference of fucking opinion, whether or not that's harmful or not. You still shouldn't be sent to jail over something like that, or prison, because and these are the same people who probably bitch about the U.S. like, oh, we send people to prison too much. Well, at least we don't send people to prison for like having discussions of like shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, good lord, fucking Scotland. They had Dankula where he got like sent to fucking jail over a meme with his fucking puppy.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And they're gonna get, and these people are the ones that want to go talk to the U.S. like, oh, you're a totalitarian state. Like, bullshit, dude. Look at your fucking laws.
Shit, we're the last beacon of fucking freedom that's left in this world. Shit,
Yeah.
we're it.
Hey, were we? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Were we going to hit on Obama using that funeral as a rally for the Democrats
What did you
campaign?
Yeah, the John Lewis funeral.
Like, these people, regular people, aren't even able to have funerals because of everything with COVID. But then he takes his rear end up there at someone's funeral. I'm sure they don't care because the church, that kind of church, is they praise Democrats. They praise politicians and not God. But if it was someone at my funeral who did that, like, we would all beat them up. Like, it would be probably a fight or something. That's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
what's
they
that?
did it with George Floyd's funeral too, using it as a rally for the Democrats. But then Trump can't have a rally, but y'all are using funerals for a rally.
Yeah, that's what really pisses me off. Is like, in a lot of parts of the country, you can't have funerals with more than like 10 people. But if you're someone that the Democrats like and respect, or you're in the political class or whatever, you can have a funeral with thousands of people. How the fuck is that okay in the United States today, where we basically have this sort of like class system? I thought we did away with the class system in the year
Right.
of like fucking Jim Crow and all that other stuff. Now it's not black and white. It's are you are you in the political class? Are you a celebrity? Are you this or are you that, or are you just like a common pleb? Because that's basically where we're at right now.
If you're a random black person who died during an election year by a white person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you're a special class at that point. If you're
Mm-hmm.
someone who's been like hardworking family man, or mother or whatever, and you've been like struggling your ass off and you died, you can have 10 people at your funeral. If there was someone who's like a Medal of Honor recipient and they died now due to the coronavirus, they probably would still only have like 10 people, unless they got killed by some like deranged like white guy or something. At that point, Obama will show up to your funeral.
I mean, Republican politicians are guilty of that too. Remember John McCain?
Mm-hmm.
Remember
Well,
that funeral?
That wasn't during coronavirus, though. But
No, but I'm just saying, like, it's just politicians as a whole. They just use shit for opportunity. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
And you
I
notice
hate.
how the conservatives didn't talk smack about John Lewis. Some of them even like respectfully, like, he died, okay. But then on the left, when Herman Cain died, they were saying disgusting, nasty things about him.
Oh, good
Like, we
point.
didn't do that to them.
Yeah.
man, I mean, to be fair, it's John McCain. Like, I mean, I'm not really. He was
I'm
not
Herman Cain.
at all.
Herman Cain, the black guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
Herman Cain.
I was gonna
John
say.
McCain. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Pizza
I'm
man,
not.
not war man.
Entrepreneur, big guy. He's highly respected,
Mm-hmm.
for everything he did. And then for them to try to attach his death to Trump and COVID, like, the left is so predictable. It's like, I saw he passed away. I'm like, what nasty comments am I going to see from the left?
Mm-hmm.
But with the conservatives, I didn't see them do that to Lewis. I didn't see that.
Well, and that's the thing. Actually, I'm glad you brought up Herman Cain because, first of all, I made my minds in so many places, but I'd kind of forgotten that he had contracted coronavirus, but his death still kind of really surprised me. But good, yeah. Contrast with John Lewis and Herman Cain is as stark as it always is. When a Democrat dies, it's a tragic loss. we lost a legend and a hero and an inspiration to all. Let's put him on the money. Let's put him monuments everywhere. Ironic. Let's do all these wonderful things. Republican dies. Oh, we're glad he's gone. He wasn't that great. He this and that. Like, it's just,
It's just nasty. And
yeah.
imagine if Herman Cain was one of theirs, and we
Mhm.
were to say the same things they said. They would call us racist.
Yeah. And the thing is, like Alex mentioned, like, I hated John McCain, but I'm not going to, like, I'm not gonna bullshit and be like, oh, he was a great man now that he died. I'm not gonna do that shit. Like, just because somebody dies, they're not suddenly a great man.
No,
But
I won't say anything. I just won't say anything publicly.
exactly, that's what I would do. It's
But I'm
just,
also gonna let people pay respect.
Yeah.
If somebody else has like, hey, just let them pay respects. But this is like what Donnie said. Like you got Obama. He was doing that political bullshit at that funeral, and then you had Joe Biden. He was at George Floyd's funeral, and you had like I don't know. It's just like it's just it's it's just trash. I mean, it
And they
really
try to
is.
bash Trump too for not going to the funeral.
Well, do
Mhm.
you
Like,
know
why
what
would
they
he
could
want to go to that?
if he went to the funeral? You know what sort of shit he'd get to? He can never win.
Mm-mm.
Right. Either way, he could win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
because they gave him shit. Yeah, didn't they give him shit for going to HW's funeral?
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave him shit.
mhm.
He attended George H.W. Bush's funeral.
Well, and
Is that the
now
same
they're,
place where they have those envelopes where we don't know what those envelopes said yet?
Mm.
well, I noticed too that they're blaming Trump's Tulsa rally for Herman Cain's death. They're saying he contracted coronavirus there, and that's how he died.
Yeah.
Mm.
If he did, it's sad, but Trump wasn't like, oh, hey, I'm going to force you not to go and wear a mask.
Yeah.
That guy has agency.
hmm
If he wanted to wear a mask, good on him. If he doesn't, okay. People have the right to go and choose their own stuff, and he knew the risks.
And I just forgot about this one. Bill Montgomery, who was a co-founder of Turning Point USA, got the virus and died from it. People don't know about Montgomery's. He's actually the guy that found Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk didn't just like come out of nowhere. Like, this guy found him, and then they started Turning Point. Charlie became the star of it and the
It's like
poster
a
child.
He's a Weinstein of Charlie Kirk, basically.
Hey, I cannot confirm or deny what they did to become a star, but that is the story I know.
And I have one more thing on the Lewis funeral before you move forward.
Sure.
I don't like how Obama keeps trying to use his black voice when he's around black people.
Yeah, isn't
He
that kind
changes
of
his voice
patronizing?
and talks. Yeah, it's very offensive.
Mm.
Were you saying he's
I
kind
don't-
of like that one girl, like that one woman who ran that Silicon Valley company that was a big scam, where she'd make herself sound like a man?
Oh yeah, that's the Theranos chick.
Yeah, she did the same shit that Obama's doing, but instead of pretending to be a woman, he's pretending to be like more black than he is.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's funny too. It's like Obama's half white too, but everyone forgets about that.
That's true.
And by the way, Beyonce is doing that too because black people really didn't like her. Now she's all cultured now and woke.
Yeah,
And
what
she
is that
has-
all about? That black is king stuff. Like, what is that shit?
I refused to watch it. I saw the preview and I saw the visuals. I believe it's a distraction for the whole Jeffrey Epstein issue. I think it's a distraction. And they're promoting, demonic images. In my opinion, she looks like, what is it, Giselle or something? Who has those horns? Looks like a little demon. That's what she looks like in her. Huh?
Beelzebub.
Maybe, I don't know. She looks like a demon though.
Bahamut. There's a lot of demons out there. There are several thousand probably.
And then I posted about it on my Twitter, and there's multiple black people who are very against it. They don't even follow me. They're like, "Thank you, because I call it demonic because it is." But I'm quite sure it's a distraction to keep us distracted from the whole Epstein, all these things coming out.
Ah, she's a demon.
Don't you miss Alex
See,
Jones on
her
Twitter?
boss is Satan.
That's probably true. You know what they say with like that music industry, to get into there you have to like make a deal with the devil. Some
Mm,
like Faustian
I,
bargain.
be- I believe it.
There are a couple. There are a couple of YouTube channels that actually put Alex Jones's stuff on.
yeah, there are
Yeah,
re-uploads.
I did. Yeah. So I find myself watching them every now and again. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Because I
I
mean, I have to like, because I mean, if I want to actually watch it, like I would have to, because I still have the app on my iPhone.
mm-hmm.
So I have to put the app on, like open up the app, and then use my AirPlay, because I have Apple TV on my for my television. So then I just, because I can't just do it. Yeah. So I rig it in a way to where I can just where I can watch it on on the screen, which is kind of cool. But like, it's funny. Like, I gotta say, I'm like, I still like Alex Jones. I do. And like, of course, of like, half the stuff he says is fucking batshit nuts, but like, the other half of it is pretty on point. It's
Well,
actually very, yeah. I
it's a
mean, it's
lot of
very on.
theater and like over the topness, and I
Yeah,
think he's very
but it's humor.
self-aware
It's
of
like
that.
humor. It's like humor. Like, the nut stuff he says really is funny. Like, it's funny because it's like,
When he
you
knows that, like
know,
he's very
yeah,
self-aware,
yeah.
and it's
But it's
just
like, you got
having
the other
fun.
stuff. The other stuff that he's saying is fucking almost borderline genius. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Yeah,
Like,
like he is one of the best entertainers out there. Like I have to say that. Like, and his news is one thing, but like, he does make me laugh. Like he's had some of the most like memeable moments out of like anyone I've seen. Say what you will about his viewpoints, but like I enjoy watching him when I get the chance.
well, speaking of this too, 'cause I saw on his website. How about, because I know Phil mentioned this earlier too. How about that video of these doctors at this like press conference that Breitbart was streaming, got 17 million views, banned on Facebook. Trump tweets about it, Twitter removes the tweets. What is it about this video?
See, that's what makes me think that maybe TikTok wasn't that shouldn't be the only target of Trump's wrath.
Yeah.
Cause this shit's just as bad.
Well, because here's the thing. I haven't watched the video yet because I just haven't had time. It could be total loony stuff. I don't know. But every time you ban something like this, regardless if it's true or not, the content, if it's loony or not, people are going to instinctively be curious and wonder if the government's trying, or not the government, big tech's trying to cover up some big truth. Like, it's just going to make people believe those people more. And I'm not saying, yeah, I haven't seen the video, so I don't know if the doctors were right or wrong or whatever, but that's just what they're going to do by this. So just let it stay there. Just let it be.
I am really scared that this is going to be another AIDS-ish pandemic where they
Mm.
completely over they over you know what I'm saying? Because like, you look at the AIDS pandemic, and like, and the government ended up pushing AZT, which actually ended up killing more people, like killing people faster, versus using, like, normal supplements. Like, look, and we all know, like, hydroxychloroquine is like not that expensive. Zinc, not that expensive. Some of the stuff that they're going to be pushing might be a bit pricey, for fucking sure. That whatever vaccine that's going to be developed, that might be a bit pricey if you're going to be one of the first people that get the vaccine. That's going to come at a pretty big price.
What is
Uh,
with this continuing war against hydroxychloroquine?
It's because Trump recommended it.
yep,
Is it
Exactly.
more than that though? Like,
he
it,
literally said he was the first person to fucking bring it up, and nobody, and like
Well, he
once
wasn't
he
the
said
first
it,
person. I'm sure.
no, no, no. Well, he was the first person to tweet about, like, he in this country, in the U.S. of A. He's the first person to bring it up,
well, it was
right, on one of his
actually
tweets.
Laura Ingraham that really, I think, brought it up technically first, and then he kind of amplified it because I remember watching her show and seeing her talk about it. And I believe it was the first place it was brought up. And Trump watches Fox, so he, was probably watching and went, might be right here. I'll have to actually look into it more to find where it really started, but
Now you're not gonna find it. Not, but this, it within a couple of days after this pandemic really started hitting, it was, yeah, he dropped something with hydroxychloroquine
but
in the tweet, and then of course like a couple days later
yeah.
I think he deleted the tweet.
But here's the thing
Well,
about, because I do think it is true that, yeah, a lot of people are against it because Trump mentioned it. But you have people like Fauci against it, his own administration.
right,
Why?
well, because because he's
Well, here's the
been
thing.
on a lot of the
Like with any drug, there's always going to be side effects, and it's not going to be right for everyone. And the media probably spuns like, oh well, Trump said this will help everybody, and it really, it might help some people, might not. It seems like it worked pretty decently, especially before they had like remdesivir and other shit. And here's the thing: if Trump were recommended remdesivir, then they would have been like, oh well, Trump has ties to whoever makes this shit. Like they would
yeah.
always hit him with something because he can never be right or else the media is wrong, and they think there's this like war against them. That they see this like persecution complex out there. And that's what really like that's what's in there. Because I think, who is that? Is that the Washington Post? It's like there's a war on journalism. No, there's not. There's a war on like yellow journalism, and there's been, and rightfully so, because that's destroying our country.
Mm-hmm.
That brought us into wars before, and it's probably going to do it again if they keep this shit up. Like, this is elites versus the common people, the Trump America, the coastal elites versus the red states, and that's what we're seeing play out right here.
Well,
Hey guys,
What's
Trump
up?
just retweeted Hannity about the Boston bomber, and he said that person deserves a death penalty.
yes.
Of
He
course
does.
he does.
I agree, but I guess the courts overturned the death sentence.
Which Boston? The Boston bomber? The Boston Marathon bomber?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just tagged you guys in that.
Yeah, I see it.
Good
Yeah,
evening,
Trump just
by the
said
way.
death
Okay.
penalty. He killed and badly wounded many.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm conflicted on that one because the Boston bombing is actually one of the things that kind of woke me up.
I mean, if I mean, there's a lot to unpack, because my opinion on him uh goes with my opinion on the death penalty, goes with my opinion on the legal part of all of that. Like, okay, so the reason, so I feel like we don't use the death penalty nowhere close to enough in this country. Like, we should be
Amen.
using it.
Amen.
I
We
would
should
agree
be
with that. I
using
would
it
agree with that.
way more. Way fucking more.
Yes.
You
Way,
got a whole
way,
bunch
way,
of
way
people that
more.
are like, way more. And I just remember being in, I remember being in a sociology class, and yeah,
Great
and
memory.
you all know how I feel about the sociology fucking department. But anyway, um, and they're like, there's no real need for a death penalty. I'm like, yeah, there is. I
Well,
pissed off a whole bunch of people saying that shit too. But they're like, well, what really deserves the death penalty? Let's go. Murderers, child rapists, fucking people that, like, I think Bernie Madoff should have gotten the death penalty. I think if you have like, if you violently rape somebody, gone. right? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit. There's a whole bunch of shit you could say that deserves the
Well,
death penalty.
I mean, I don't disagree. I certainly don't disagree with like violent rape or like, you know what? The one thing that I cannot believe is not a death penalty crime is fucking pedophilia
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
of all things, for one. But aside from that, uh, I you just dropped my. Hold on, sorry.
Well,
Not only is pedophilia not a death penalty thing, in California they're trying to pass laws that protect those fucking pedophiles.
Well, here's my sort of thing. I think the problem that a lot of liberals have is because they create this process where there's so many appeals and shit that ends up costing more to go and kill someone.
That goes
By,
to my next point.
that's
That
the
goes
big
to my
that's the
next
issue I
point.
keep hearing. I
Alex
think it,
fucking nailed it. Alex fucking nailed it, right? It costs more because of legal fees and all the drugs and all that shit that are used to euthanize somebody and like all that shit. It costs more to actually execute somebody than it does to imprison them for life, which is bullshit. Like they need to like go like if you get convicted of death, right? You should have like I think you should have 30 days, right, to get all your affairs in order, get whatever final shit you need to prepare for whatever hell you're going to. And then yeah, I don't think that like and the drugs they have like the one drug that like they're like, well, first the first drug is to um is to numb the pain. The second one is a paralytic, and then the third one finally euthanizes you. Like what?
Isn't
No,
a
no.
bullet
Get
to
a
the
firing
head?
squad, man. Get a
Yes.
round. Get one round that costs 10 cents to make in the back of the head.
No
Boom. I
pain.
just saved you a ton of money. You're welcome.
It's all three of those shots in one. There's no pain. It does the job, and it's cheap.
like honestly, who gives a
Wait a minute.
shit if these
You
people
know,
are
what'd be really, you know, what'd be really good since they say COVID is it's so deadly and lethal. Why don't they just give him that? That's free, just floating around, right?
Well, isn't that what San Quentin's doing?
Oh
That's,
no, they're letting all the prisoners out. I mean, if
no,
masks work,
yeah, the San Quentin. In San Quentin, they're like, oh, we should just let it. They're trying to let them out, but they're like all. I think there's like a mass COVID-19 fucking infection rate going on in there.
I mean, yeah, like
Like
they're letting
shit.
prisoners out all over the place because they're old and and whatever other reasons they're coming up with all over the country. And I mean, if masks
The
work, why
big
aren't
man,
fucking prisoners just made to wear them?
like, what do you do it? Like, what are you liberals doing? The big man
Right?
upstairs. The big man upstairs just gave you a solid, right? Just gave you a solid. What are you doing? Just let it go. Let it play out. Let it
Speaking
play
of
out. It'll
the,
handle itself.
of this stuff, though, I just saw this tweet from the Little Benji's Daily Wire. It says Gretchen Whitmer blocks GOP bill that would have kept coronavirus patients out of nursing homes. That woman.
How?
Well, my question is, why is the left pushing for these people to go into nursing homes? Because that's just creating a recipe for fucking disaster.
I don't think they were really.
I think they're sandbagging it intentionally. I
I
think they're
think
sandbagging
some
it because the target is older. Because the older people tend to vote Republican.
Yeah, they do.
So
Yep.
yeah, they tend to vote Republican. So going to those homes and getting them to contract the COVID-19 shit, you're kind of getting rid of those old people that are getting used to
Guys,
keep the
I have to
state
share.
close.
I have to share a hot take with you
Mhm.
that I ignored originally. I've heard this in real life now 3 times. The second time I heard it, I was like, this can't be real. They're completely random individuals that I've met in person and just happen to talk about the masks because everyone's fucking wearing masks. I live in a very Republican state, and I have had people seriously suggest to me that this whole COVID thing is a Trump hoax to try and boost the economy to try and meet quote unquote numbers that or quotas that he has set forth.
The numbers.
Something to that degree. I don't know where this narrative has come from, but now I mean, within 50 plus miles apart, have said these things to me
It's fucking
randomly.
Yeah,
in
that-
public.
projection. It's projection.
Yeah, that
It's
makes
projection.
sense. I'd love to go and hear the reasoning behind this conspiracy theory because it doesn't make any sense. Why would Trump do that?
That's-
Because honestly, this has been like, it's not been good for Trump. It's not really been good for anyone.
No, of course not. That's
Yeah.
been my argument too. Now,
It's-
to be fair, one of those three proceeded to tell me that this was biblical and that this was end times, and she started talking about
Book of
some shit
Revelation
that
type shit.
yeah, I couldn't quite follow. I mean, being a faithful person, not necessarily religious, but I'm like, yeah, you sound like a fucking lunatic woman. But the other two, I couldn't get a word in edgewise because they were so because I engaged them in this conversation. Like, oh no, this is, and again, both of them, one of them was at work, and the other one I was at work. So I was doing something the one time, and the other time I was getting paid. So I couldn't really sit there and be like, you know what, you're fucking retarded. I put my mask back over my face and I went about my business. But I just thought it was insane. The first time I heard it, I'm like, whatever. It's just some because nobody knows what the fuck's going on. Everyone has a theory. But then the second person, I'm like, that was the crazy lady. So I'm like, okay, she's just crazy. But then the third person, again, we're talking at least a spread of 50 miles between the three.
Gamma.
Hey, what's going on, Sammy?
Sammy.
Not much. I'm just multi-streaming here, so
There you go.
Oh, hi, Sammy.
Congratulations on getting over 700 subscribers. That's
Yeah, man.
Congrats.
impressive.
thank
I
you.
never actually formally said that. Actually, Sam, I'm a piece of shit. Congratulations.
Well, you're a piece of shit for other things, but
Oh man!
That's
Yeah.
what 700
Shots
subscribers sounds
You
like.
you only showed up a minute ago and you're already slaying people. Damn!
Shots
Damn,
fired.
Sam.
well, I mean, Gamma brings it on himself sometimes, but I mean, in my defense, I feel like a piece of shit because my audience roasts on me because I shaved my face, and I had no idea that people
What?
actually liked my beard.
You shaved your
So-
face? What the shit, man?
Sam, they're only roasting you because your shirt's on. They don't care about your face. They care about the shirt that's not off of your body. That's what your audience cares about.
Well, more people need to pay me then. So streamlabs.com/the Whitfield
Yeah.
report. So, but anyway, so
You're gonna have to pay for my premium snap like everybody else.
Right, Sammy the E-Thought.
Yeah, honestly, we were
Guys,
talking about Snapchat earlier. That's probably the only thing keeping that fucking platform alive.
Yeah.
Has the panel talked about TikTok?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a
We,
new topic, but now that Sam's here, you gotta give me your take on the Bears winning a lawsuit against Patreon.
we just did a whole stream on that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What's the
They
TLDR?
they haven't won shit, but
Yeah. So basically, the tilde on the bear shit is basically they just had like a preliminary hearing. That was basically all of that is. So
yeah, they
and-
had a preliminary injunction was filed by the judge, and I mean the original court date wasn't even set till November. So these victory laps being sent out by Cernovich and all the fucking ilk it's bullshit. I'm predicting that this is gonna go on for years.
No. They're gonna be forced to
No?
pay thousands of dollars. Cause guess who else is joining in
In
on this?
arbitration for sure. In arbitration for
Yeah.
sure. But that's not winning shit.
Oh, it's
I
this
mean, they're
could
being forced to pay
it's
arbitration.
big. Patreon could go easily be gone. Lauren Southern is joining in on a lawsuit too.
Right, but they're
Speaking of
okay,
e-thoughts,
okay, the definition of winning. The definition of winning, I guess, was marred on my part.
Oh, this is 100%
They
winning.
didn't- they're
Taking
not
down a
winning
left-wing
anything.
tech company. Nothing makes me more erect.
Well,
this is
I
like
mean, the idea of winning a lawsuit means
Well,
means
no,
winning money.
They
But
didn't win the lawsuit, but it doesn't even matter if they win because they can go and force them into so much legal fees that
Exactly.
they won't be able to go and basically stay afloat.
exactly.
well, so far
you don't need to win the
Owen-
lawsuit to win the war here of bankrupting big tech.
Yeah, well, good luck because we're talking Owen Benjamin and Vox Day versus Patreon.
No, it's
So
his
if we're
fans.
talking-
It's his fans, though.
Sure, he's got how many bears are in this lawsuit? There's like 75 or something.
It's enough.
And then Lauren Southern jumps on. I mean, sure, it could go bad, but as it stands right now, my perspective,
Well-
like it's Patreon could drag this out for a long time,
Well, but look
and I
who
think
else
they have a
is
lot
on
deeper
here.
pockets.
You gotta consider.
What's that?
Sargon Avocado was banned from Patreon. Milo
He's not
Yiannopoulos
on
was
the
banned
suit?
from Patreon. Those
They
two
not on the suit?
alone are huge with huge
But
followings.
neither one of them are on the suit so far. Once
Right.
they join, I'll jump for joy too, except for
Well-
all the people that make money on Patreon.
Well,
But here's
Yeah, but
what,
usually
here's
that's
what I
how it
will
works.
say, because if it were Milo or Sargon as part of the suit, maybe. But see, Owen, this is what I asked because I have a contributor. His name is E Scorpio, and he's the one who keeps up on the whole Owen thing more than I do, and he's not a big fan of Cernovich either. But that's a whole another thing. But anyway, so the one thing that he and I were kind of discussing, and Apex was there too, is if it were anyone else but Owen, Patreon might be worried. But this is the guy who Owen is the guy who jumps from the moon is fake to the moon is a freaking lens into another dimension. So if anything, Owen is the guy who the left is now propping up as, see, this guy is crazy and this is why we need to censor right wingers. And unfortunately, I think the general masses are kind of looking at him and being like, oh yeah, for sure. So that's part of my whole gripe. I mean, as much as I dislike Nick Fuentes, I kind of wish Nick would get in on this.
Well,
to a
here's
certain
the thing. This is what I'm trying to say. Is you're like, it doesn't matter if Owen's like, it really doesn't matter. Owen is the smallest player here. That the bigger picture is that Patreon changed a part of their policy. They changed the rules of the game midway. You can't do that. They got caught, and it's proven in a fucking California court of all courts, that you can get them on this and literally just take their money, get free money. So Lauren's jumping on it. Milo was on a stream with Carpe Duncum the other night. Great, by the way, interview. I loved it. It was really just fun and funny and interesting. But he was asked about it, and he basically just said, I can't talk about that, and read into it what you want. I think he's 110% jumping on this train. He would love to do this.
I would agree with that, actually. And I mean, again, I think my original, just being my whole, like, my initial impetus for my presence on the internet as a whole, and my name right now on this Discord call is a direct result of my Owen Benjamin start and stuff. So I was viewing it through a lens of the Owen Benjamin definition of winning, which means millions of dollars in Owen Benjamin's pockets and millions of dollars for his followers, those of whom who jumped
Why
on
would
board.
it go into Owen's
which,
pocket?
because that's what he said.
Well,
That's
yeah,
those are
that's
the
Owen
things that he
saying
told his
it.
audience.
Owen also says the moon is like fucking a triangle or something.
Of course, but
See-
listen, you're also talking. His followers were also propped up as the people that are gonna, support this earlier. Those are the people that believe this shit. So, I mean, where's the line? Where
See, here's my question. You brought up something, Sean, that I hadn't thought of. You mentioned that now Lauren's getting in on this, and
It's not the only thing
Sargon's.
she's getting in on. But think.
Oh, I see what you do.
Did you
Well,
guys see
yeah.
her new video? That was my next topic, but I'll let you finish your thought. But she's got a new
No.
video out where she's like trying to clarify. Well, actually, we'll talk about it later. Finish your thought. Sorry.
So my thought is, if other people are getting on this, like if Milo gets in on this, you're gonna see a big civil war among internet personalities because Owen hates Milo by virtue of the fact that Milo's gay, even though Owen is kind of a closeted gay himself. But so basically, if other right-wing creators get in on this, you're gonna see a massive civil war.
I don't think so,
among-
man. Because I
No,
don't think
'cause there's a common hate
censorship's
here.
not. Yeah, no, censorship's not a bipartisan issue, really. I mean, it kind of has become one, but like, I don't think the idea of Patreon being forced to pay arbitration for the things the failures of holding up the Constitution and stuff,
Yeah.
failures of free speech and whatnot, that's all well and good because something else will fill that void. There's already replacements to some degree, not as big and not as reliable, but they will be once that fucking void is there.
Well,
So if they've done wrong, then I'm fine with that. But
well, Patreon though, in my
I'm not cool with lawfare necessarily.
yeah. Well, no. Here's the other thing though. Patreon's not even the biggest player in a lot of this. I mean, if we want to talk censorship, YouTube, the platform we're all currently on, is unfortunately part of this too. And from what I've been reading, people think that this is going to lead to a possible lawsuit into YouTube. But here's the thing. Taking on Patreon is a whole different animal from trying to take down YouTube because YouTube
is
Google's.
Google. Huh, good luck.
Yeah, they have YouTube's virtually unlimited war chest, whereas Patreon doesn't. To put it
I don't know. I
simply.
mean, their war chest, I think, is definitely deeper than that of Owen Benjamin and Vox Day, and even Lauren Southern and Milo Yiannopoulos, and perhaps all of their followers.
Well, I mean,
think about
Lauren's
the pockets of these corporations, man. The people connected to these people.
Lauren's OnlyFans account could, generate a big war chest in and of itself, but
All right, guys. Well, here's the thing. Like, even if they fucking lose, that's not the point. Like, even if they don't get $1,000,000 themselves, it doesn't matter. What matters is there's going to be millions of dollars thrown into lawyer fees, and that will.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I'm on board with that. I'm just I was just trying to explain my original disagreement with you because I do agree with that. I'm just saying my idea of winning in the Owen Benjamin sense was what I was thinking about, taking Patreon for everything, which essentially they may do, but not directly. It's not going to go into Owen's pocket as he's making it sound like to his followers and has been. That's kind of what I was. That's all I was saying.
But what could do Patreon in was because the whole it's not going to be Owen Benjamin. It's going to be his followers that are going through arbitration, through Patreon, through the legal, process. And Owen Benjamin's small time compared to Sargon of Akkad to Milo to all
yeah,
these other
no
guys.
shit, yeah.
And when you get all of those followers,
Exactly.
and they have to address those arbitration cases
Right.
individually. Now you're talking about, oh, you get done with one arbitration, now you got to go next, and you got to go millions and millions down the road, right? It's first, you're not even going to be able to take care of it quick enough. Like, you're going to mass like the legal the ramifications from a legal fee standpoint could be insurmountable.
Yeah,
like for
exactly.
Patreon.
Yeah.
The thing is
Almost
about
certainly.
Owen is
Almost
that
certainly.
he is obviously wacky and crazy, but the point is he is a proof of concept here. He's breaking the dam, and the dam, all the water that's flowing out now is Lauren, Milo, Sargon. Most likely they're going to join in on this shit, because who wouldn't? I mean, obviously they're looking it over to be careful, but Owen
especially
winning
for-
this was a proof of concept, and or Owen's fans, I should say. And I don't care whose fans will win this. If it's taking money from these tech companies, that's a victory. Now, that's how I think most people are going to view it. I would obviously rather go to Milo's fans and Sargon's fans, of course, because I love those guys. But it's better. Money would be better in the people's hands than in big tech's hands. I think we could all agree that.
I think if you follow Lauren Southern, I think you have an even bigger gripe, because you've paid all that money for premium content, and there you go. Yeah, premium content, and then you got railroaded by Patreon. Oh, those fuckers deserve to pay.
Speaking of Lauren Southern's content, she uploaded a new video clarifying things she said in the last video, because people were calling her a radical centrist, a shill, sellout, only doing this so she doesn't get banned, and she addresses all these things. I kind of tuned out halfway. I'm waiting for my boy Paul Joseph Watson to rail on this video on his Twitter. I don't know what Paul's waiting for, but I mean, I can't wait for the fireworks that is the after show of a Lauren Southern video. Paul Joseph Watson's Twitter feed. But she was getting so much shit in the comments. I mean, she was getting ratioed with the likes and dislikes on that video.
Yeah.
And then people in the comments were calling her out. And literally one person was like, Lauren is a shill. And she just kept ripping them and going after her own fans. And then she deleted the video.
He is kind of.
This isn't working, Lauren.
Lauren's kind of having a baked Alaska type meltdown right now. It seems.
She is having what I would say is more of an identity crisis, because she's trying to pivot. She's trying to reframe herself as this objective documentary filmmaker. But her old fans kind of they're cool with that, maybe, but they're not cool with the fact that she's an e-thought and that she was exposed. So she's trying to get new fans, but new fans, they will, I mean, people on the left think she's all right. Where is she going to get fans? Where is she going to build her audience? She's pissing off her old audience and trying to get a new one while pissing off the old one, and also pissing off the new one. This is a total clusterfuck.
I mean, I have an answer, but it's going to be, it's not going to be PG.
Well, who was that one guy who used to do that content cop shit? What was his?
Yeah.
Yeah.
H3 or whatever. It sounds kind of like what happened with him, because he used to be this oh, I'm this H3, I'm this edgy dude. Then he has a girlfriend or whatever as a known
iDubbbz.
Listen, yeah, whatever.
The same thing, yes.
The answer to how she could get new fans obviously is to
take her top
show
off.
them titties, or that's like
what titties?
She's got 2 kids already, doesn't she? Who wants to see that?
She should stay with them. She's instead getting it, just trying to be relevant and get attention on the internet. And I'm like, don't you have kids to raise?
Yeah, I don't know. it's
What happened to-
it's weird.
What happened to,
So.
oh, I'm gonna go to university back again and study the world? It was all a crock of shit. She got caught thoughting around, took an exit, stage left here, and hoping people would forget her for a few, years, and then pop back into the scene. But hey guys, remember me? Oh yeah, I used to do those documentaries. And
Now,
apparently Milo's saying he has a bunch more shit on her that like he didn't even put in those articles. It sounds really juicy.
now look, I mean, as far as like, shifting images and whatnot, like I'll admit, I've done that a little bit myself because I mean, I used to, before I met you guys, way before 2016, I mean, I guess I would have considered myself a Buckley conservative-ish, but that was before National Review went never Trump. So,
And that's fine, because I think a lot of us were in that sort of confused position too. And we were also growing up, evolving our viewpoints, but you were still genuine. The difference is Lauren Southern is never been genuine. She doesn't write her own shit. She gets ghostwriters that she like sleeps with to write her shit, and she's preaching all this trad shit, and she's a total ethot. Like that's the difference, is that you're legit, you're you, and you're honest about yourself, where she isn't.
I have a secret to tell you, and I'll tell it to you for free.
I love free secrets.
All of the trad chicks are actually ethots.
Yeah,
All of them.
What?
Every single one of. Yeah, every.
Right when it's getting juicy, guys, I have to get off here, but I'm gonna play back those parts, all of it.
Holy, it's the best part. We're talking about
This
anything
this
that
is-
isn't newsworthy.
This is where we need a woman's, opinion the most.
Let her go.
She's running away.
So.
Well, I don't know who she is.
Oh, you don't know?
Oh, well,
Well, that's the correct response.
Yeah,
I don't think
we're-
That is the correct response right there. Because very, very few people actually know who the hell she is. So good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
What-
love
what-
you
She was
guys
pretty
so
big.
much, but I
What-
have to hop off.
No problem.
We love
Thanks for
we
we
coming
love
you,
you
on.
Donnie.
too.
All right. Later, Gator.
Later, bye.
Welcome anytime. Okay.
But
Well, Lauren Southern has like almost 700,000 subscribers, and she was huge in 2015-16. I mean, she was blowing up.
Yeah,
Wow.
'cause she used to do stuff. But what was the last thing that she does that anyone gave a shit about was like Borderless, and then she immediately left because she
Yes.
probably fucked a security guard or something. Allegedly.
Dude, I want Milo to release all that shit he has in his vault of Lauren. I mean, there's gotta be some really funny shit.
Doesn't
well,
Lauren
my
sound like a porn
so
name?
What?
yeah.
Doesn't Lauren Southern sound like a fucking porn star name?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Phil, you would know the
Well,
answer
I
to
mean, to be to be fair, there are lots of women in the public space who aren't porn stars, but that have porn star names. So
Phil, did that friend from the military ever have a Lauren Southern in his catalog?
Yeah, that does sound like a porn star.
There you go.
Tequila, fucking Alexis, Texas, Lauren Southern's right up in there.
Yeah, dude, right up in there.
Very poor choice of words there, Alex.
one of the a couple of the Playboy Playmates though have gone full on WW1GA or whatever, the QAnon.
Where we go
Like-
one, we go all. Bullshit, yeah.
Like it's weird how like some of these women have gone like full Q, like I thought people were bullshitting me, but apparently Jenna Jameson is now a right winger. So it's weird. Lauren Southern kind of did the opposite of her. So
It kind of makes sense, though, man. If you think about it, Well, at least in my mush brain, because these porn stars have spent their life in the most degenerate version of Hollywood, and when Hollywood's already degenerate, I can
I'm,
only imagine the shit that they've seen.
What's the thing
oh
though
yeah.
with like these boomer moms and Q? Like that seems to
I
be
don't
the
know. That is
demographic.
weird. That is weird. Yeah, for sure.
And I love these like people. They're like Trump moms are fabulous, but like why Q? Like stick with Alex Jones, isn't he enough?
They want to believe. They want to believe in something. It's like the female mindset. See, this is where Donnie would come in and be like, "Apex, you're a fucking retard," uh, or agree with me, or somewhere in between. I don't know, but the female mindset, maybe, perhaps the empathy, the want, the need to believe in things that you can't touch and you can't feel and you can't actually see or measure.
I think
Uh, you know,
I think the issue is people fucking like forgot about church, especially with this
yeah,
coronavirus. So
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lack of faith.
Yes, indeed.
CQ and it's like, oh, this is this like conspiracy theory. This guy's totally telling the truth on an image board that I've never been to myself. So I download like a fucking app or Twitter or whatever. It's pretty sad, but like at least it gives them something, I guess.
Well, because that's what I was gonna suggest too. Is like when people don't have faith in a, I feel like even like this is even the case with me. Is like everybody seems to have faith in something, be it a god, a Q, a simulation. I mean, I don't know what my faith really is in, to be honest. That's a whole nother discussion. But like, we all have that sort of like longing for something that we want to believe in.
A belief, yeah, it's just a belief in something, and
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I think that it's an important thing, and what I feel like part of what's lost is the focus, or a focus rather. We're all spread so thin. You know what I mean? There's no the ideals are just so thin across the board. You know what I mean?
And they treat
And
Q like a
becoming thinner.
religion. They like wear the fucking like Q logo. They hold signs with it, and they're like addicted to the videos. Like, oh, did you see the latest Q? I'm like, I don't know where to even find the latest Q video. Like,
Bleh. Yeah.
I still don't understand what Q even is, to be honest, and I don't like.
Well,
It's a
that's
large
the idea.
man who goes and like pretends he's this NSA agent who's on the Trump side, fighting the swamp.
Well, but I think that's the idea, though, Sammy, is you're not supposed to know, and you're never supposed to know. Like, ideally, in whatever op's mind this is going on in,
So why? I mean,
it's supposed to be like some intangible connection to Trump through the internet. It's not even supposed to be like one person. It's like an amalgam of people.
No, I think
Perhaps.
it was one person because I thought they had this.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that, because I've had conversations again in real life with people I couldn't believe I was having the conversation with that I was having. That tell me, the things that they believe. And again, I say people. We're talking two. There's two off the top of my head I can think of, but just random people you talk about. This news on the TV, and then you see Trump put 4 stars on the end of his tweet, and Q posted on fucking 4chan 6 years ago, some shit. I don't know. Like,
it's not
yeah,
even
that's
hyperbole. That's literally what these people will say. Like, that's the thing.
That's not no, it's not hyperbole. It's not at all. Actually, that's literally what they say.
Well, the
So,
problem
yeah,
with
I mean, I
humans
don't
is
know.
like we are so addicted to like patterns because that's how
Mhm,
we predict
mhm.
things and how we look out for
That's it.
dangers. But we're shit at it. Like we see patterns in everything.
We see patterns in the things we want to see them in. Is the real thing. You know what I mean? We have a less of a tendency to see the real patterns and see as we are to see the patterns that are pre-constructed in our minds. Whatever those may be.
Yeah.
Like the left, the hardcore leftist, including my best friend in the world, sees systemic racism everywhere. even
Well,
though
not even just that. They see this like dog whistling, and it's basically the same sort of.
yeah,
It's like, oh well,
yeah,
this is actually right wing, like alt right dog whistle because Trump used the number 14 in a post that goes to like 20, but number 14 doesn't know this, and 14 is related to 1488, which is a racist like signal, and like that's basically the same sort of thing coming from the left.
Don't
But
you
then
hate that shit too? Like everything's a dog whistle. Everything.
it's maddening, dude. It's fucking maddening. You guys just reminded me. I just talked to my little sister. Um, she's my only surviving younger sibling at this point in my life, and she still lives in Texas, where we both were born and raised. And I haven't talked to her in several months, probably since December, I think. And she started in on this whole Black Lives Matter thing, and how she wants to. Well, she started with she wants to move from Texas. She wants to move to Illinois, of all places, or perhaps Michigan, of some other fucking place.
Yeah,
like
Michigan is
why-
actually
why-
good.
I'm like, yeah, for the most part it is, except for Governor Whitmer. But
I remember California because at least it's like it's a sunk cost at that point.
yeah, right. Well, so I asked her why. I'm like, why all of a sudden? She's like, well, my neighbors. And so I started digging a little deeper, and basically she was like, I'm sick of these fucking conservatives.
In other
everywhere.
words, white people. Is that what she's also saying?
More or less.
Yeah.
And so I started a debate with her, which led inevitably to Black Lives Matter and white privilege and systemic racism. And this is my little sister, who I have a lot of respect for, and who has a lot of respect for me. But through this conversation, I could hear in her voice and like her reaction that the switch flipped for her. She's like, holy shit, I think he might be like a secret racist. And I mean, this is mostly me inferring, and I even asked her at one point, because it all I was making jokes. I'm trying to explain we're in joke form, because that's just kind of what I do, because everything is fucking funny to me. Racist jokes are the funniest jokes, sexist jokes, and tragedy jokes. You watch somebody get hurt, it's funny. I don't give a fuck who you are. It's funny because everything's funny. So I was just started on this whole like everything's funny kind of thing, and it was the white privilege. I was making the white privilege argument, and I'm like, have you ever seen a Jewish person take ownership of their white privilege? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, Jews are a religion and a race. So like they're if you ever watch, like, there's an interview with fucking Denzel Washington. This was just the first thing I pulled up off of my head. I think it was Morgan Freeman, actually. I'm sorry. And he was talking about Black History Month, and Morgan Freeman was like, I do not want it. I do not like it. I do not agree with it. And the interview was like, well, why would you be against Black History Month? He's like, well, do you want a White History Month? And the interviewer was like, well, I'm Jewish. He's like, okay, do you want a Jewish History Month? And I used that to paint a picture of like Jewish people, playing both sides of the fence. In media.
That happens all the time. That pisses me off because.
Well, right, and I was making that point, and she went real silent. All of a sudden, I'm like, so what? Am I a white supremacist now? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So it was just one of those things. I mean, I have a terrible method of portraying my message a lot of times. So I understood the outward comedy of what I was saying, which is why I just assumed. She was like, she assumed that I was something that I'm not, and she knows that I'm not. But that's why I lean into it, because people that know me the most, and will tell me, I've known you for 25 years. You are not racist. Why do you sound like a racist right now? Well, because I'm not.
Oh, I use that against people. Like, I deliberately use it to show their true colors. And it's like, if somebody believes you're genuinely good and they genuinely believe that, they're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. They're not gonna like jump to these conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Apex. I mean, that kind of reminds me of, and I've told this story on the Whitfield report before, but my dad and I got into a my dad and I got into a, my biological dad and I got into a big fight when I was back visiting him in Colorado one year. It was back in like 2017 or basically it was whenever Charlottesville happened, and I was back in Denver that week, and I hadn't seen my dad, like, physically seen him in about a year, and like he and I disagree vehemently on politics, but for the most part, we always decided just to agree to disagree and not talk about it, right? But then the Charlottesville thing happened, and my dad uh, saw he was reading an article from the New York Times website and where they misquoted Trump's very fine, people quote. And so my dad goes off on this whole thing of, well, Trump is supporting the neo-Nazis there, and I just don't understand how you could vote for someone who supports, that. And I'm like, but Dad, he doesn't, and neither do I. Like, he actually came out against the white supremacists
Hey guys,
there, and it just became this whole thing of like, I can't believe I raised a Nazi supporter, and it's like that's because you didn't.
Yeah, I
So,
see the thing you're mentioning, Alex. They want us to engage in the chat. Sorry, I've been trying to get the chat involved, but we've been
well,
going a
Sean,
bunch of directions.
I saw what you said about like Latinos wearing the Confederate flag. Like honestly, what I don't understand is the left likes to go and paint this like perfect picture that all the the non-white minorities like they all agree with each other and everything. But honestly, there's a lot of if you actually like talk to these people, a lot of them like have infighting between each other. Like I know like there's been a lot of conflict between like Latin Americans and blacks in terms of like gang violence. I used to go and
Mm-hmm.
watch like, and stuff, and I did a little bit of research back in the day, and there's a lot of fighting in there, and to some extent, it's like the black like some of the black population they see the illegal immigrants taking their like jobs because the blacks are going to take some of the lower like labor, and then the like the Latin American and like Hispanic Americans like they sort of like this back and forth. But the Democrat Party just kind of glosses over that. It's like, oh well, at least you guys both hate white people, right? That's like their subliminal like subtext that they're sending to these people, from what
You
I.
guys, without being too explicit, I live like further north, but I live in again, as I mentioned earlier, a very Republican state, which is also at least the area that I live in is very populated, very heavily populated by Mexicans, South Americans of varying degrees. There's a lot of farms around me, to put it simply, um, and many of the conversations that I have, save for a few, I mean a small handful, I'd say 75% that I have with these Hispanic families that are first generation immigrants. Some of them are no, none of them are, well, some of them are illegal, but even they, at least off the top of my head, at least two of them that I can think of, they all have the same kind of idea about illegal immigration as everybody on this panel. And in particular, there's this one Mexican woman who is she's a first generation legal immigrant, and she has had a fuck ton of kids here legally. She's worked her ass off, and she doesn't have a whole lot, but she's like the picture of the American dream, basically. She's worked her ass off. She doesn't have a lot, but she's not struggling. And her fucking 30,000 kids aren't struggling either. And they go to a decent school, and they speak, they're bilingual. and et cetera, et cetera. They refer to this. She specifically, sorry, refers to the whole illegal immigration thing and people pouring over the border as moochers. She refers to them all, just a blanket statement, as moochers, and not even just Mexicans, just anybody that comes here illegally. It makes her very angry, and it's to the point that I don't even like talking to her about it. But she's not the only one. I've talked to many people, and again, there's people that are here illegally, we'll say, illegally, don't agree with it.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, you're breaking up real bad.
Oh no, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. It's just like a gamma. So
Yeah, but yeah, no, you're right. Like South Americans, they are different from Mexicans, and it's a lot of that's one of those things that like a lot of people don't see too. Like Puerto Ricans are different from like Mexicans, and like there's a lot of like little things. I've talked to a few Puerto Rican people before, and like they're all right. Like same with
How
anyone
much
else.
of that? How much of that was that breaking up though? Like, did you guys hear me now?
No, you're still breaking up.
Shit.
Well, and I think too the important point to make there is I think I wonder how many of these people though that that are
It's that
against
bad.
illegal immigration are they voting Republican?
There's actually pretty decent, support from like a growing support from Latin America or like Hispanic Americans who were supporting the Republican Party, at least compared to the black vote. Like the black vote was like 13%, but like more so when when the Bushes were running, because that was their sort of thing. But like it was actually going pretty high, especially depending on certain like ethnicities from South and Central America.
Well, I think too the thing that people need to keep in mind, like especially when these people talk about demographics being destiny and all this shit. They one factor that they leave out is that when somebody immigrates here and has kids, at about like three generations in, they lose a lot of attachment to their original cultural identity. I mean, there's big steps, like even to second generation sometimes. When you hit third, that's when the assimilation really kicks in. But what the Democrats want to do is like flood people in super quickly, mass migration, in order to get a significant enough voting block as quickly as possible before that happens. And that's where Republicans, if they want to target Latino communities for supporting Trump, they need to go after the second, third generation. First generation, you're not gonna have a lot of luck on, but if you go after second, third gen, I think they have some untapped potential there.
Well, it really depends too, because like a lot of people in the first generation who came here legally, like they'd be pretty pissed if like people just come illegally because you have to spend a lot of money to come into the United States legally, and then you see someone just hop the border and basically get treated like on a fucking red carpet. Like that offends a lot of Hispanic.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
Like that's the thing too, and there's also like once you get to third generation too, sometimes you'll see that sometimes that's when there's an identity crisis with certain groups, and I think that's largely because the left likes to play off that race card, and they make them feel like, oh, you're not really like Mexican or like Puerto Rican or Colombian or whatever, and I think that's an issue as well. But I think that's mostly done by the left to go and create these like synthetic voting blocks, because like the whole Democratic Party is pretty much one giant synthetic voting block based around like we're against the majority, like on like a racial and sexual like diagram. Like they're basically against all that stuff, because like honestly there's a lot of stuff that like a lot of Hispanic Americans would probably agree with the Republican Party, and that's why I see generally more so with like them voting more Republican than like most other non-white ethnicities, depending on which one. Like if you're from Cuba, like they tend to be very more right wing. some of the other ones less so, but like part of the issue is, like a lot of them are Catholic. A lot of
Yes.
them, they don't support, because of that, don't support abortion.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that they could agree with the Republican Party on, but like the left sort of has this uh, tactic of like being, oh, white people, they hate you, and the Republicans, they hate you because of your skin color. And they create this meme. And sometimes, like the Republicans, some years are better fighting it than others. Like there's a certain point where they go too far. Like I think the Jeb Bush campaign was a perfect example of that, where he's like just complete pandering,
Yeah.
like doing shit and like some of the other ones do that too, where they like have shit in Spanish, and that becomes an issue too, because then you start to hit like a lot of conservatives have a problem with. Like I have no problem if you come to this country legally, but I don't want this to become a bilingual country.
Yeah.
Like when my mom came to America, she had to go and learn American or like English. Like she used to speak German, and for a time being, like Germans were the largest ethnicity in the United States, and they never got to have the same sort of thing that like a lot of people from like Mexico and stuff are doing right now, where it's like this push to go and be bilingual everywhere.
Well, the left keeps making a very questionable comparison because I'm partly Italian descent on my mother's side, and they keep making. I always hear that like Mexicans and Hispanics are the Italians of uh you know today. Like that Hispanics are where Italians were like back in the 40s and 50s, right? The problem with that is Italians never were like coming over here illegally. They all came over here legally and just got put in really shitty neighborhoods, basically.
And the other thing too about the Hispanic voting population, I'm gonna break down some numbers here. When you have a lot of them to come legally and start their own small businesses, those are blue collar working class people. Those are your small business owners. Those are your populists. That's your Trump base right there. That's why I think Alex, you're actually nailing it right in the head, which is that there's a lot of Hispanics you can win over. You just got to do it properly and not pander. And I think Trump's been the best at it. And I think it can even be improved from there. When we're looking at the 2016 exit polls, Trump got 54% of the white vote. Hillary got 40%. Trump got 6% of the black vote. Hillary got 91%. And Hispanic vote, Trump got 28%, 66% for Hillary. I forgot actually how high it was for Trump. 20% isn't too bad. If you compare it, I was going to compare it to further years or past years. Romney had 27%, so Trump gained 1 point from Romney. McCain had 31%, so Trump was down 3 from that. But George W. Bush in 2004 had 40%, and then the previous time he had 35%. Now, Dole only got 21%. The older Bush got 25, 30, and Reagan got 35 and 37. I could see Trump breaking 30. I think he'll break 30%. How far into the 30s he'll go is what will be interesting. Could be more like 32, 33, maybe 35.
Here's what I'm concerned about though, Sean. We still have election fraud to worry about.
Well, that could be part of it. I do think some of what Trump says probably puts off some, like, especially combined with the Democrat rhetoric, it probably makes it harder for Trump.
Yeah.
With that particular voting block. I mean, I don't agree with it. People aren't that educated, and Trump's been very hard trying to appeal to the black voting bloc now, and that will have a negative effect on the Hispanic American voting bloc, which I don't know if that's a very wise move, just looking at the demographics right now.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because I think Like, if you look at some polls, like, 'cause it's interesting when you Google Latino support for Trump, all these articles are talking about, these are like mainstream media news articles, are talking about how Trump is gaining with Latino voters. There are some polls that say he has like 50% support. Some say during the pandemic he has 40%. It hovers around. One said that it's 44% have reported their approval of President Trump. So he's got strong support. Maybe they figure the black votes where they have more work to do. Latino business owners.
And I'm curious real quick. Do any of these polls indicate like where these Hispanics that support Trump are? Like, are they?
That's a good question.
Probably in the
Because like it kind of makes more sense that like Hispanics that are more like in rural areas of the country would support Trump because that's where Trump's base more generally is. But like if you go to New York City or anything like that, I mean the Hispanics are always calling Trump Ihu de puta or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that, like, you'd have to dive into these polls more 'cause that's a very good point. Because, like, Cubans in Florida are very different from Hispanics in New York, on their political viewpoints, as you pointed out. Um, but it'll be interesting. That's why I think it's really going to be interesting to see how this plays out during the election. And the thing that's going to be crazy about the election is that as much as they're using the coronavirus to hurt Trump, what if it helps him? Not just because of the actions he's made, but if people are more scared to vote, like, it's going to, because of the pandemic, that's going to be Democrats. Republicans aren't scared to vote because of the virus. They're going to come out. I mean, these people some of them aren't wearing masks. Some of them don't trust, a lot of them don't trust mail-in voting. So you should, honestly, because of the coronavirus, you should see really high turnout from Republicans compared to Democrats because of the coronavirus scaring some Democrats to stay home, and maybe some other factors, of course. One guy in the chat says, Biogen says, hijo de puta. But honestly, it's split amongst Hispanics. Most are religious. Many are for him and many against. The more religious, the more for. Totally agree. And that's the key, too, is keeping the faith involved, keeping Christianity central in a lot of things. Even though I'm not a religious person, but if you keep that as a central sort of theme, that doesn't have to be obvious, but subtle, like with pro-life, you can win some of these people over, keep them. But that's what I was going to talk about today. Do you guys have anything you guys want to bring up?
I have a couple like I guess I don't know if they're really political questions. Maybe non-political would be the would be the term. But do you guys think we'll ever get back to normal, or do you think COVID has changed society forever?
Oh, it's definitely changed society forever, but we're not going to be wearing masks forever. We're not going to be socially distancing forever. We're not going to go back to relative normal till 2021 when a vaccine rolls out and people, enough people take it. But yeah, coronavirus completely changed the world, arguably more than 9/11.
Also, what do you think of what do you think of Dr. Fauci saying that we need to wear goggles now?
Well, honestly, I think that goggles probably made more sense than masks in a lot of ways. I think goggles and gloves, like honestly, I don't know why we haven't been told to wear gloves because that's probably a major area people get it from.
Honestly, like I this is why when I wear my mask, I wear my sunglasses most of the time because honestly, a mask is only as good as your face covering, because you can wear a mask. Somebody, let's say, I think one of the ways people are getting this without realizing is probably through um, talking to people. And if you're not far enough apart and you're talking to somebody spitting all over them, if it just lands on the mask, you're fine, but odds are it's going to land on your eye and the mask. And if you get on your eye, that's probably how you're going to get infected then, more likely to get infected through your eyes. I mean, the mask
Yeah,
helps, but you still have your eyes exposed.
I mean, honestly, I don't see how I don't see the need for goggles. I mean, if I can get away with wearing my Ray-Bans indoors, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's fine. I mean, I didn't see him say
um,
that, but like I'll look it up.
and also, I don't know if you guys covered this before I came in, but Herman Cain passed away from uh, COVID-19
Yeah, we talked about
this
that
week.
briefly.
And, there's not much to say other than that uh, I said earlier tonight that I think had he faced off against um, Obama in 2012 instead of Mitt Romney, I I think Obama would have been a one-term president, and I think a lot of the damage that Obama did in the second term, especially with the whole social justice stuff and the Black Lives Matter thing, would have never even come to fruition. And I don't think we'd have the kind of the cultural war strife that we do now. Had Obama's second term been, you know, averted. And we probably wouldn't have Trump either, but I don't think we would have needed Trump like we did slash do. But anyway, your thoughts on Kane real quick, guys?
I don't think he would have beat Obama. Like he
No.
was doing very well after his. Like it's very hard to go and beat a sitting president. Like maybe theoretically he could have, but I sincerely doubt it.
No.
His not doing too good. And he would have been seeming like he's pandering to the black vote too much.
No, Herman Cain never. He would never be a presidential material. I mean, he doesn't have, like, I'm gonna look him up and see what else he's done, but like he just really didn't look. I loved his patriotic populism, like that's fantastic, and he was an early surrogate for Trump, so credit where credit's due on that. But he just was a little, like, I remember in 2012 when he was running, and he was a little, it just wasn't all there. It was not the complete package. And he didn't have enough experience really to really sort of prove, like, the thing that's special about Trump is that yes, he has no political experience, but he is able to have a complete package that overcomes that and is actually in fact better than having any political experience. Herman Cain was a little kind of goofy, like really wasn't a great speaker, and that's why he just didn't gain traction in many ways as a presidential candidate from what I can remember. And then I think something came out about him having like affairs or something. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm looking this up. I remember when that happened. Political reported that Cain had been accused by two women of sexual harassment and misconduct during his time as CEO of the National Restaurant Association (NRA) in the late '90s. Two other women made additional allegations. So yeah, no, Herman Cain was kind of like a pipe dream for some people, and I understand why, but like it just wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah. And then I guess one more question from the chat that someone asked for you guys is Biden really going to pick Michael Obama or Kamala?
Michelle.
They don't want to win.
It's hey,
4 more
I was
years of
saying.
destructive tantrums on tap.
Yeah, I've been saying it would be Kamala, and then when I saw those notes he had, I was like, "Yep, there you go."
All right. Well, I know that you guys have been on for quite a while now, so I don't want to, I don't want to keep you guys running, but, thanks for having me and thanks for, I guess, coming on my stream, technically. So,
No problem, Sam. We always love
Yeah.
getting the band together every Saturday to just shoot the
mm-hmm.
shit. Do you want to plug your stuff before we close out?
Sure, and feel free to do the same here as well. Obviously, you can support the Whitfield Report on YouTube, youtube.com/the Whitfield Report. Search the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever else. You can follow me on Twitter at @SMDB_NDC. Same with Instagram. And if you're on my channel, please go over and subscribe to Versa Media. I'll link their channel both in the chat and in the description for you guys as well. So, anything you gentlemen want to plug?
Thank you. But yeah, subscribe to Versa Media at Versa News Media on Twitter and everywhere else. But for that, sounds like there's no more plugging to do. Then I will close out this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we're back in the pandemic mode as we hurtle toward the election. 95, I think it's now 94 since it's only 94 days out. It's going to be a historic election, and we're going to give you as much coverage of it as we can. So thank you guys. Have a nice day. As always, wash your hands.
Likewise. All right, folks, have a good night and God bless.